I didn't think anything could surpass the despair Discord gave me. I was so wrong. My thoughts, my feelings, my memories, they were all going in a million directions at once, battling for space inside as I was smothered underneath. The maze again, then Discord again. Cloudsdale, Scootaloo, Gilda, Best Young Flyers, the Shadow Bolts, Dad, Flight Camp, Fluttershy falling. I told myself that we'd be okay, that we'd win, that we always win, that we'd bury Discord in our memories and go back to friendship ports and Pinkie Pie's parties. 1,000 years of having my face rubbed in it. I felt like my insides were on fire and freezing all at once. Another Rainbow Dash is gonna have to go through this all over again, isn't she? I was angry at this monster and nobodies for doing this to my friends and everything I'd known. I was angry at myself for failing right at the finish line. I hated Discord for making this monster. I hated myself. I had failed again. I'd fallen for the oldest trick in the book. I screwed up when every pony was depending on me, again. Black tears fell down my face. I failed my friends. I failed every pony. The whole universe hated me. I felt like I was all alone in a frozen wasteland. I'm sorry. What could this sorry do? What good has sorry ever done? I felt something dark bleeding out of my chest. There was only one way left to keep my promise. Now, where were we? Take me with you. If I start taking souvenirs from movie sets, my home will be filled with clutter. Please, you look like you have a spot open for Rainbow Dash on your team. Please, let me be with her. Let me come with her, and I'm yours. The rest of the world is gone. She's the only one left to be loyal to. She'll be my absolute loyalty. Just please, don't let her be alone. She has a point, Mira said reluctantly. But she really shouldn't. Aw, she sounded so cute when she said that! Gramfloon squished my cheek. This was the only way. It was the only road I had left. Let me continue to protect her. If she's really you now, then let me protect you. You saw how I took out Applejack and Pinkie Pie. I'd say I'm overqualified for the job. This was the only chance I had left to save her. I'd rescue her from the inside. I'd save her from the inside. Her and all the other Twilight Sparkles inside her. I'd save them all. I'd beat this monster. I'd save Twilight Sparkle. I'd pull my Twilight out of this monster Discord made. Come on, Twilight. You know you want me with you. I forced a grin. Nightmare Dusk blinked, then beamed. Rainbow Dash, is that you? The real you? Oh, I've been looking for you everywhere! She nuzzled me. I fought not to flinch. Nightmare Gramfloon squeezed me like a plush toy. Welcome back, Dashie! I miss you so much! Nightmare Mirror hugged me gently and whispered, Oh, Sugar Cube, you have no idea how big a mistake you've made. Twilight's Nightmare twisted the sword inside me. I felt my element break in half. I wrenched my head back and howled. But, had she been playing me? Now, don't be scared, Rainbow Dash. I certainly can't kill you if you're not alive. But you'll be a person soon, just like me, Pinkie Pie, and Applejack. Her chains reached into me like I was a ghost. They pulled out a piece of my element. I screamed. It was a pain that I still can't describe. It went deeper than physical pain. It was like what she did to hurt my very being. She grimaced like holding it hurt even her. Elements of free will? More like elements of not being reliable to your friends. Don't worry, Rainbow Dash. I've freed you of this horrible fake evil element. She tossed it over her shoulder like junk. No! I tried to reach for it. This is my world, my choice. You don't get a say in the matter. How could you? You're not a person yet. But you will be soon. Don't worry. That fake evil element was holding back your ascension into a goddess. You're gonna be totally cool, Dashie! I'm sorry, Dash. A huge gush of darkness leapt out of me from my own elements. Dusk pulled the sword out of me, and the others let me go. I croaked out my last words as Rainbow Dash. Twilight, help me. I am helping you, Rainbow Dash, because you're my friend. She smiled. Friends help friends to not do bad things. And trying to stop the golden world from existing is very bad indeed. Be loyal to us, my nightmare of loyalty. The darkness became long arms with hands, and they wrapped themselves around me like a mummy. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was feel my own element of loyalty devour me from the inside out. Nightmare Dusk? No, Twilight Sparkle. She's my Twilight too. She's doing this to me. My best friend. Her chains whip out and wrap themselves around me just as tightly as the darkness. I managed to shed one last tear as Rainbow Dash, and for one moment, I wished for a way to make it all fair. I feel the elements inside my soul burn away everything that wasn't connected to my loyalty. The necklace reforms around my neck, sharper and more jagged, the metal shaping itself around the gem lodged in my chest. The darkness explodes into a twisting maelstrom of black threads, shadowy mist, and gray lightning. A horn shoots out of my head. My strength increases as I become aware of the world beneath my hooves, or what was left of it. My wings turn black like storm clouds. My mane and tail become jagged and crackle with lightning. My legs become longer and thinner. My muzzle elongates. I keep growing. Twilight's chain spears pierce my skull. I scream louder than before. Now, you just have some nasty defects in your brain. I wouldn't be a good friend if I didn't fix you. Be happy. He'll be well very soon. Load of horse apples from beginning to end. Oh, Applejack, you're such a kidder. Applejack and Pinkie Pie, they just watch. I feel like a part of my soul is being lobotomized. And you'll make sure all of our friends stay loyal to each other, right? We're going to make a golden world, and we're going to need loyal friends. I grunted back. Yeah. Friends need to be loyal to each other. Yeah. My new horn glowed. Armor formed around me, a vague mockery of ancient Pegasi warriors. Black chainmail etched with crimson lightning, heavy as my heart. My cutie mark, white becomes black, and the rainbow colors, like my own mane, become like a photo negative. Welcome back, Rainbow Dash, Twilight smiled. Tell us your new name. Who are you? What are you? I am Nightmare Manacle. The all-consuming loyalty, I grunt out. Wonderful! You've been uplifted from a simple mass of temporal possibility to a real person. Congratulations! I grunt back, bowing my head. Now let's reset the stage and get you comfortable in our house. Don't worry, you get to make your room exactly the way you want it. I'll get the popcorn! Pinkie Pie cheered. You ain't a show, Applejack said. Every pony ignored her. I grunted and bowed to my friend, as she tore her creation apart one moment at a time, in reverse order. I just stood there, like a good friend, as she destroyed and remade the universe. The cycle began again. In order, she collected us. The cruelest of truths, endless laughter, all-consuming loyalty. Fluttershy was next. Pinkie Pie and I both fought to bring her into the fold, as loyal friends would. It was better than being erased to nothing, right? Well, we failed. In the end, it was Applejack and her cruel truths that made Fluttershy become the kindest of lies. She insisted on bringing her daughter along after fixing her from Discord's bad influence. Applejack insisted what she did was nothing to praise her for. I could relate. She and I could never convince ourselves what we were doing was right. And finally, Twilight claimed the beautiful fury of the generous green flames. No matter what Eclipse did, no matter how she rigged the game, no matter what changes she made to the script, Rarity refused to become Nightmare Charity, the fairest of gifts. Even inches from death, no Rarity ever accepted what Twilight was selling. Spike, on the other hoof? To save her? Well, what's Twilight Sparkle without her number one assistant? The Night Terror Banneret. Too bad no Rarity wanted Spike to become a monster just for her. Our little stable existed in what you would call the space between world lines. It was latched onto our world line like a tumor. I fell asleep through most of Twilight's lectures, but basically it was able to exist in and out of time and space at the same time thanks to her element of magic, being nowhere and everywhere at once. A bubble of private miniature worlds, something like the actual concepts had, which meant the concepts would have to force their way inside and play by our rules if they wanted to come inside. And they certainly tried, but we had our own cute little gatekeeper, and that plus Twilight's ability to astral project left us free to do whatever we wanted without risking anything. I remember the first time, my first time, as we watched the world be torn to shreds over and over, going backward through time. Deep down? No, it wasn't deep. I never hit it any more than Applejack did. I hated myself for every moment of that. Hatred that made my self-loathing as Raider Dash look like teenage angst. And that was only the first loop. Even with Twilight's chains wrapped around my heart, I knew this was all my fault. Each loop, a part of me hoped that Rainbow Dash would succeed where I failed and save both our Twilights. That really was deep down. I couldn't dare admit it out loud. I remember the way the world was ripped apart atom by atom, moment by moment, starting with Discord's statue and spreading out from there, all the way back to the day Discord was freed, spreading faster the bigger it got, until the last half of the universe is torn to light and shadow in less than an instant. I remembered Scootaloo. The poor ponies at the start, it wasn't a black sphere or a white void, or a grey fog. It was like they were looking at the sensation of being blind and marching towards them, consuming everything. Maybe I couldn't pretend I wasn't Rainbow Dash after all. Maybe seeing it all be destroyed, all the murder of moments up to that point, was the straw that broke the nightmare's back. Maybe I was still hanging on to the idea I could save one pony that meant something to me. My former self's body was torn away into nothing, the same as everything. The universe I belonged to was dying before my eyes. But with everything being torn to pieces, the walls were coming down the same as everything, along with the rules of before and after. At that last possible moment, as Scootaloo watched the Royal Garden, Canterlot, and Ponyville dissolve, I moved. I dived in, breaking through what little remained of whatever barriers could have stopped me. I took Scootaloo from our world. Twilight, she said how I shouldn't... I told her she was just memorabilia, like my collection of Wonderbolts merchandise. Mira said I did it on instinct. Twilight just patted me on the head and told me not to make a habit of it, and that she'd throw out my junk if it proved to be trouble, for my own good. Next time, my first time fighting on her side, she was watching too closely for me to save Scootaloo. I had to be careful, I had to pick my battles. I had to sneak Scootaloo past Twilight and Applejack each time, until Applejack recruited Fluttershy. Nightmare Whisper helped me save Scootaloo most of the time, but even she couldn't always run interference. She even helped me to save other ponies from Ponyville. I was able to tell Twilight about those, saying how I just wanted a complete collection. She believed me. My room, in our domain, made it into a copy of Ponyville and Cloudsdale. First Scootaloo and I were the only real ponies there, just using wooden dummies animated by Fluttershy's magic. I slowly replaced them with real ponies from countless loops. I designed it to be identical to the Ponyville in my memories, right before Discord fucked us all up. Twilight once said it reminded her of a universe where Discord created a fake Ponyville and populated it with constructs he had the gall to think were alive. Every time she visited me, she'd ask why I was moping in my cloud castle instead of enjoying my playhouse. You could make anything you wanted. Why'd you make something that just makes you sad? I never answered. Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy only told her that it was personal, and I'd tell her when I was ready. Eclipse accepted that, as friends should. I don't think she ever noticed the orphanage. I built it over the old insane asylum, since it was out of the way and not seeing much use. I kept Scootaloo asleep in there, all of them, sleeping away eternity so they never had to remember what I did to them. I never spoke to them, never interacted with them. I didn't deserve to hear them call me Rainbow Dash anymore. My plan was to integrate them all into one Scootaloo once the Golden World was created. I was an idiot. Each Scootaloo was her own complete soul. Even if their futures were erased, they weren't just clones of each other. It was like some residue of the timelines they were from carried over with them, and they dreamed of the futures they had chosen for themselves in Discord's dung heap of a world. They were all Scootaloo, but they were all unique. As for the other ponies I saved, I let them populate my imitation Ponyville, enjoying each day as its own thing. Time was meaningless here. They never considered things like the future, or leaving town, or the hole in their memories where Scootaloo should have been. I magically rewrote their memories, kept them happy, and let them enjoy a Ponyville and Cloudsdale I could pretend was real. They had no idea who Discord even was, and they never cared that the princesses never visited. Bright Night, she was right. She'd been completely right. She couldn't steal something that was already lost, something that hadn't been there to begin with. I'd almost killed her over nothing. Endless cycles, bury the guilt and the shame, create a little pocket world for ponies saved from the cycles. Can't fit that many. Eclipse doesn't want me growing attached to stage props. Save Scoots. Try to always save Scoots. When the world resets, snatch her in the moment the timeline and every pony in it is reduced to ether. Sometimes on the day of chaos, sometimes the day before. Keep them safe, keep them happy. Don't let them interact with the Rainbow Dash who betrayed them. A golden world where monsters like us could never come into being. I remember my sins. Doing nothing while Dusk led one Twilight after another into becoming a nightmare. Those who resisted were absorbed, kicking and screaming. I remember helping her break Twilight and her friends when they refused to bow to the script. I became trivial after the first few hundred times. They weren't fights, they were routines. Our struggle was futile and meaningless. Twilight sometimes let us add in our own personal torments of Discord for what he'd done to the world. My favorite moment was when I planted a bunch of grenades around Discord's statue and blew him up the moment he was freed. All that changed was him possessing a random castle guard. I never bothered to learn the guard's name. No! I hated Discord, but I didn't think ponies were worthless. No, please! I never abandoned Fluttershy, even when she argued with me over Discord's punishment being enough, over the cruelty of making him watch their daughter die over and over again. Stop it, please! I never wanted to ignore her pain like that! You know that Twilight's been copying and pasting parts from other loops to keep Discord on track, right? Yeah, so? So, Sugar, that means whenever Rainbow Dash is forced to kill Scootaloo, Twilight's the one making it happen, not Discord. I mean, yeah. And what? And what do you think? Discord is going to pretend that he's changed so he thinks we'll somehow forget all the horrible things he's done. I need to make sure our complete selves don't get fooled. Eclipse called from where she was watching the current loop. I think, Applejack, that I'm loyal to you guys, and there's nothing that could ever change that. And besides, Twilight said Scootaloo won't remember any of that when we make the Golden World, so it doesn't matter. She wasn't lying, right? No. And stop asking these weird hypotheticals. Jeez. It wasn't very nice of you, Applejack. Yeah, Jackie, I don't really get the joke either. Oh, don't worry, girls. She's just being true to herself. You can't expect her to be more than that, can you? Eclipse asked, the smile only slightly shrinking. I looked at Eclipse, then at Mir, then put a hoof on our shoulder. He'll be both our redemptions. We'll pay everything back in interest. Scootaloo and Appleboo and everyone else will have a golden world to live their lives in, instead of the crappy one from before. I turned to Eclipse. Speaking of Twilight, isn't it time to help Twilight Sparkle 1.0 down the path of leveling up to a totally awesome super mare? Stop it! Please, please, please! I don't want to remember anymore! Stop! Stop! I wanted Scootaloo to have a better life! Back in the orchard, back in this fucked up not reality. I held my host in my head as I rolled back and forth on the ground, wailing. I sat up in bed, waving Eclipse off. Hey, calm down, Twilight. You'll pop a blood vessel. We'll make Rarity our nightmare charity. I grinned and smashed my host together, even if we have to grind her spirit into paste and rebuild her from the ground up to do it. Please, stop, please. I lost track of myself, of what I wanted, of what I hoped for. Eclipse looked at the transparent glass sphere containing a Mobius loop of stars sitting on the table. Last time I let you, you shook it like a snow globe to watch the stars settle. You only destroyed a few galaxies, I shrugged. Yes, but you could have damaged something important. I'll just give a quick little debugging before resetting.
Estimated death count, 6432132341255 error.
What did any of that have to do with absolute all-consuming loyalty? Red isn't my favorite color anymore. It served that question, full herd of nightmares, endless destruction, endless creation. I hated myself. I never stopped hating myself. So I buried myself. Things go off the rails. New relative of discords. Things go crazy. Another intervention, things really go off the rails. They fight back enough to make us retreat back into Eclipse. We pull the rug out from under them right as they're about to win. No, 6 groups of elements against us? An echo of Rancor's spear? Twilight's parents growing at hyperspeed, wrapping around Minty's magic sword? A torrent of rainbow light ripping us away from Twilight. And then... I lay on my back, looking up at the sky, feeling the cold sting of rain slap my face. What good am I? I whisper. No pony answers. The rain mixed with my tears. I remember them now, all my countless sins. I was sorry. I've never stopped being sorry for all the fucking good it did. Scootaloo, my friends, my family, everyone I helped banish to oblivion. I'm sorry. There are enough sorries in the world for what I did. My sins as Discord's toy were nothing compared to what I let happen as Eclipse's friend. I'd say damn it, but that's kind of a given right now. I'd gotten to see Fluttershy and Spike turn into monsters as well, and one Twilight after another consumed my nightmare Eclipse while the rest of the world died. I let Eclipse dangle her perfect, impossible golden world in front of me like a carrot, promising everything will be alright in the end so long as I continue to help her destroy the universe over and over again, over the crimes of a single planet. How many galaxies did we destroy that had nothing to do with this? How fucking selfish have we been? My Twilight had been absorbed and corrupted into a monster. My friends that I fought so hard alongside to free from Discord were simply erased. Their lights were recycled back into Fauna Luster, while their shadows were sent to the glorified trash can called Entropy. The Rainbow Dash who helped kick our flanks in that final cycle. She'd been more of a Rainbow Dash than I'd ever been. And she succeeded where I didn't. She saved her Twilight. She zoomed in as the big hero and rescued her and her friends from us. She did everything I should have been able to do. She was able to do it, why couldn't I have? She's proof I could have done it. Proof that, in the end, the only one I have to blame for me failing is me, myself, and I. She's the real Rainbow Dash now. The better Rainbow Dash. Me, I was a nightmare left over from a night that was already over. But there were still ponies suffering from Eclipse's selfish screw-ups. Guess it's time to clean up the mess. I admit, maybe eternal punishment wouldn't be so bad if I just got to lay my eyes on the true alicorn Twilight Sparkle has to have become. Because I know that all those Twilight Slayer cycles are her. And that means my Twilight Sparkle is now a beautiful goddess. Just let me lay my eyes on her once. That's all I ask. I looked at Berry Barble, the one orange tree of the apple orchard, cracked in two by an overzealous buck, and miraculously mended back together. It should be an Applejack's orchard in her room, but I knew this was my room. I could feel it in my bones. But we were all hit by that super rainbow too. I looked at my flank. Why am I still a nightmare? And now I realized I felt like I was in a body 2 sizes too small. There were 6 groups of elements. There were 6 of us. There should have been enough to go around. We were all hit, trying to protect her from it. We should have gotten hit by the lion's share. I stamped my hoof. I wish I was smarter. Probably could have figured this out. Twilight. I looked at the official Wonderbolts tin that Twilight had given me. I really looked at it, sensing the magic around it, and felt something painfully familiar, like a tiny reflection of myself. I raised a hoof to it and brushed the illusion away, watching it turn into the part of me Eclipse tore away. Free will. A piece of my soul returned to me. Everything considered, I'm still gonna have to thank her. Soul. Twilight. We were all astral projecting through her when we got smashed by the 6 rainbows of light. Maybe our spirits were hit, but our bodies weren't? Our real bodies were still back in the Nightmare Stable, so does that mean I'm Rainbow Dash on the inside, but Nightmare Manacle on the outside? This makes my head hurt. I really do feel like I'm in a body 2 sizes too small. Hi, Rainbow! Nap time's over. Time to play with us again, Rainbow Dash. We've had such fun times before, and we know it'll be fun this time, too. I'm surrounded by little foals in a perfect circle. All their coats are white as snow, dressed in black dresses and shirts all different styles and types. They all looked at me with the same eyeless smile. I couldn't see their cutie marks or be sure what pony race they were. Who are you? I looked at them. They felt familiar, but I wasn't sure how. You remember us. You just spent all that time remembering us. You've been calling out our names. So it's time to play again. I'm needy, hummed the colt in a violet vest. I'm hungry, grinned the filly in a red choker. I'm vain, the filly wearing a gold ribbon cheered. I'm sleepy, shrugged a filly with a blue flower in her hair. I'm sorrowful, whispered the filly wearing a pink sash. I'm greedy, said the colt in a blue tie. And I'm angry, hissed the filly with a green feather in her hair. They all stood perfectly dry in the rain, unmoving. What do you want from me? I asked, taking a step back. What do we want? What do you want? What do we want? What do you want? What do we want? What do you want? I repeated those same 8 words, one right after the other, until they all said it. And they just repeated it over and over the exact same way. Was it like a kid asking a question until they got an answer? Or was it like someone demanding an answer? Either or both? I couldn't tell. Why are you here? I finally asked, as they all looked at me expectantly, intrigued, confused. I just couldn't make heads or tails of it. We can lend you power. We're here to return the Queen of Chains her crown. But we know we'll have lots of time to play after, said the filly in gold. We crowned you at your coronation. So now it's time for you to take it back. It wasn't nice of you to ignore us after we gave you so many gifts. Now it's time to take back your crown, Queen of Chains. Hide and seek was fun, but now we found you and your friends again. So let's play a new game. So now it's time to anoint the Queen of Chains again. Let your second coronation begin. They all looked at me with the same empty smile. Transfixed, I watched as they brought together links of chain into something resembling a crown. Then they sang. How loud is the clap of thunder? How bright is the flash of lightning? So here we meet on the hill of despair. The chains have all fallen to pieces. The shackles have all become undone. Noi, let darkness swallow your heart. Noi, cry for the loss of your innocence. Noi, noi, shun us. Noi, noi, embrace us. The shadow of the promise you made. Noi, noi, shun us. Noi, noi, embrace us. The heartbreak of the mare you betrayed. Noi, noi, shun us. Noi, noi, embrace us. Noi, 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 shun us. Noi, noi, embrace us. Noi. 6 of them bowed, standing in rows of 3 at my sides, even though I didn't see them move. Sorrowful was holding the crown in her hooves like she had magnets inside them. Like the ponies of the world Pinky'd been born from, where Rarity and me had each other's hearts. The rain actually split, and a row of rainbow-colored flowers appeared on either side of me like a trim of a carpet. Sorrowful knelt before me and held up the crown. I spread my wings. I didn't fight it. I didn't run from it. I didn't deny it. I could only accept my reality. I lowered my head. Darkness appeared on me and spread like cancer cells. I once again crown ye the great and powerful Nightmare Manacle. Sure. Why not? The world already had a Rainbow Dash. She placed the crown on my head. I feel the seals on my power and my body shatter. My transformation happened in an explosion of rainbow lightning. The storm vanished like a switch was flipped. I stretched my wings and let my horn glow, making my first act as a reborn nightmare, taking a bite out of one of Applejack's apples. Then I found a puddle and looked myself over. My key mark was still inverted, a horn of wings and the strength of an earth pony within. Millions of years of life giving me the figure of an adult alicorn. My coat darkened a few shades more than the average nightmare. Red dragon eyes looked back at me, instead of my usual blind white. My mane's colors were inverted like my key mark, fading into shadow at the tips. I lit my horn and reformed my old armor. Something tells me I'd be needing it. Alright, Nightmare Miracle. One last adventure. Then you can own up to everything you've done. I didn't need to look for my friends. We were so familiar with each other after all this time that even sealed away, sensing each other's elements was child's play. I flew into Applejack's house. I could have teleported or used the door, but I felt like smashing some walls. Applejack looked up at me bug-eyed from her couch. Rainbow, that you? Her hoof instantly reached for a cider bottle that wasn't there a moment before. I shattered it with my telekinesis. Before Applejack could get another word in, I pull her up with my magic and place my horn against her forehead to cast a memory spell. Sorry, Applejack. This is really going to hurt. The seals on her broke like cheap glass. Drinking Gia's place on her that messed with her truth vision dissolved. Her reawakening wasn't quite as flashy as mine. Applejack never was one for dramatics. There was just an ordinary flash of light, and Earth Pony became Nightmare. Applejack's coat was now a touch darker, and her key mark was inverted like the rest of us. Her body was alicorn-shaped. The oldest of us now Eclipse is gone. Green dragon eyes looked directly into mine, piercing me to my soul. But there's nothing they could find there that I didn't already know. Her armor was a smooth, reflective silver set with emerald-shaped like eyes, as were the feathers on her wings. Her mane and tail rippled into a fiery red at the ends, like an autumn sunset. Don't expect me to thank you for waking me up, she said curtly. Same old nightmare mirror. Believe me, Applejack, if I could stand to let you sleep, I would. Don't call me that. I ain't Applejack. I don't have any right to that name anymore. Yeah, I know. And you better not have hurt any of Bloomberg's family transforming. I don't think the rules of this place would have let me even if I wanted to. I'm gonna go wake up the others. You coming? Yeah, I'm coming. I can't stand this disgusting lie. And I can't stand so many innocent ponies living in it. Hey, I built this place. Yeah, I did it as an escape. Different thing. So, we gonna move or keep yapping? Race, yeah. I zoomed out the other side of the house. Hey, no fair! So, do you hate me for waking you up? It's the truth. I wouldn't be a very good nightmare of honesty if I couldn't handle it. You know, I tried so hard to make Twilight see sense, but stubborn May brushed me off every time. Oh yeah, you were with her the longest. By the time of that last battle, Mana, I hated what we were doing even more than yeah. But I had nowhere else to go, and I figured the Golden World was the only way left to make any of it mean anything. Oh, and I was planning to drag all of us to Tartarus after. What? Real's truths, remember? Can you honestly say we don't deserve it? Guess it's not the most loyal thing, but there you go. It's only a matter of time before we started fighting each other anyway, now Eclipse is gone. I'm not fighting with you, AJ. At least you realized your mistake and tried to make it right. That's more than I ever did. Applejack told me once, her first cycle, her native world. She'd protected and saved her apple pie, and when she found out Eclipse wasn't ending Discord's reign, just repeating it to torment him, she fought back. She said she would have considered it a fair trade if his reign was erased with reality, at least until she found out what happens to erased souls. In the end, Nightmare Mirror was left on the ground, bleeding, her armor and wings shattered, and Eclipse's spears dug into her body. And poor Apple Pie was left to stare into the eyes of a pony who treated her like a cardboard prop. Applejack always choked up at what happened next. I could never get the whole story out of her. She'd say something about saving Apple Pie the only way she could, but wouldn't go into details. Rainbow, one thing you shouldn't be ashamed of? You got closer to beating Eclipse than I did, and you weren't even a nightmare yet. Still didn't win though. Are you upset the Applejack that beat her was an element of fantasy? I'd be upset if a Liarjack did it. It's the corrupt version of that element I take issue with. I'm proud that she managed to save Apple Pie in a way I couldn't. It's pretty mature of you. I'm just being honest. I wanted to crash right into Sugar Cube Corner, but Applejack didn't want to get any pony hurt. She teleported us inside instead. I still managed to make a show of it. I scanned the place with my eyes. Cedarabelle wasn't there, but Applebloom was, along with most of the rest of the foals. Cheerilee was there, probably as part of a mini field trip or something. Cheerilee's jaw hung out at the side of us, and like any loyal teacher should, she put herself between us and her foals. We were nightmares after all. I spotted Pinkie Pie. She was sitting next to Bright Night. Applejack, is that you? Applebloom gasped. I'm sorry, Applebloom, Mira said. But I ate your Applejack, and this ain't your Ponyville. What? The poor filly looked completely lost. Oh, is it Nightmare Night already? Pinkie Pie asked. Wait, no, this is what you were telling me about, right, Bright Night? Yes, Pinkie Pie, it is. Pinkie? I asked. Bright Night says I forgot an important promise, but I didn't think you'd come back to the party as scary alicorns with Applejack. So, are you going to apologize Bright Night, or are we going to have round 2? I looked at the pink Pegasus filly and sighed. I'm sorry, Bright Night. Her reason for being there had nothing to do with an evil scheme to take over Scootaloo's life, and I had attacked her for a stupid reason. It already caused enough pain and misery without giving a flying feather. Might as well take one tiny little dropout since I had the option. Apology accepted. Apology for what? Applebloom asked. It's not important anymore, Applebloom, she said. Shirley was looking left to right, trying to figure out what was going on, practically on the verge of a breakdown. Bright Night, get away from them! Don't worry, Miss Shirley. They won't hurt us. Pinkie, could you please stand still for a moment? Applejack asked reluctantly. Are you gonna make me a statue, a brainwashed zombie, a freaky apple zombie, or revert me to a former life? The last one, I guess. Okay, should be fun! Prepare to be disappointed, Sugar Cube. I really wish I was waking you up to a better sight. Applejack touched Pinkie Pie's head with her horn and cast the memory spell. Pinkie Pie did what looked like a lifetime of Pinkie Sense twitches in under a minute. Then she was stiller than I'd ever seen her. She giggled softly and shook her head. Jeez, you weren't kidding about being disappointed. I was hoping for Generation 3 me. Or a surprise. Or a My Little Horsey toy prototype from Hasbro. That would be new. Remember? You pinky promised, Pinkie Pie, Applejack said. Yeah, I did. Oh well. Applebloom, Bright Night, Every Pony, sorry, but the party is over for now. Thanks for coming! She stood on her hind legs and reached behind herself, to a zipper that hadn't been there before. She pulled down and stepped out of herself like her skin was just a costume. Out came a darker, more vibrantly pink alicorn Pinkie, with the colors of her balloon cutie mark inverted. Her eyes were blue and dragon-like, but less bloodshot than they used to be. Her wings and horn looked like crayon drawings. Instead of armor like us, she was wearing a frilly crowned dress with a rainbow skirt, though she didn't bother with the makeup. Her mane looked almost like a foal's rendition who'd forgotten to color in the lines. She neatly folded up her, costume. Shirley looked on in dismay and horror. Don't worry, Shirley. I'm still me, I think. Probably. Dang. More sane really stinks. Nightmare Granfaloon, the eternal laughter, didn't look like laughing. Out of all of us, Granfaloon had always been the craziest, even compared to Eclipse. She looked at Applejack. Jackie, I thought it was all just a game. I didn't mean to laugh at all those ponies dying. I didn't think any pony was really... I thought they were just... She whimpered. Am I a bad pony? You were a bad pony. We all were. And now, it's up to you. Pinkie Pie didn't answer. She looked in a mirror. Instead of putting on her clown makeup, though, she put on some Buffalo Tribe war paint. Only Pinkie Pie. What is there to say? We were all crazy as Eclipse's circle of friends, but that first step, giving it to the monster inside, becoming the monster inside, that was our own choice. Where's Rarity and Sweetie Belle? I asked. If you think I'm going to tell you anything, Shirley began. I suggested to her that she should leave the party early when I got back, considering everything that happened yesterday, and that it was a good idea to spend as much time with her big sister today as she could, since there was no telling when they'd meet again. Bright Night! It's okay, Miss Shirley. They aren't the enemy. How can you know that, though? Look what they just did to Pinkie Pie! Shirley was even more confused that the cakes were doing nothing more than continue to pony the counter and kitchen. I promise I'll explain everything soon. She looked right at us. But you really need to hurry. Do we really need to wake up Rarity too? Can't she just be happy? Pinkie Pie asked, almost pleading. Pinkie, whatever put us here brainwashed 5 nightmares and took over this place. We'll need all the power we can get, I explained. And I'll admit, I wish we didn't have to either. Pinkie's ears flopped down. Then she shook her head and popped a sunny smile back on her face. Bye, every pony. Thanks for coming. I hope we get to have some fun later. Oh, and help yourselves to whatever you want behind the counter. For the rest of the afternoon, everything is free. Shirley looked confused when the cakes didn't say anything, then dismayed as her students looked ready to spoil their appetites, though not as much as she should have. Applejack, wait! What do you mean you're not my sister? What do you mean this ain't Ponyville? Applebloom was crying. Applejack tried to hug Applebloom with her wings, then grimaced. Mirrors did not make the most warm and comforting wings. She folded them to her sides and hugged her with her forelegs instead, nuzzling her. I wish I had time to explain. I'm sorry, Applebloom. With more strength than it should have taken, Applejack let go of her. We didn't bother to watch what happened next, and I didn't bother to see if Bright Night tagged along or not. I think if she was needed, she would be there. Next stop, Carousel Boutique. Bright Night was right. Whatever was here had eyes and ears everywhere. We didn't have time to waste. We all teleported inside Rarity's living room. She and Sweetie were relaxing on a couch having cookies and tea, more like sweetened water in Sweetie's case. Rarity did what you expect from a big sister. She pulled Sweetie Belle close to her and assumed a hardstyle karate pose that looked self-taught. Don't you dare touch her! Sweetie Belle screamed and held on to her big sister for dear life. 3 nightmares in the forms of her friends had just teleported into her living room. She was ready to fight to the death to protect Sweetie, or at least as long as it took to find a way to safety. She'd protect her as a dragon would its treasure. You know, I really hated to do this. I really did. This was a cheap way to win. But against the telekinesis of 4 nightmares, she didn't stand a chance. She didn't even try to use hers to counter ours. Instead, she told Sweetie to run, but Pinkie Pie picked up the filly with her tail and started tickling her. "Until her, you—" That was when Pinkie Pie touched her forehead and used the memory spell. Cliffs had taught it to all of us, just in case. Rarity let out a gasp, her eyes wide in shock, then confusion, realization, shame, and finally, sadness. "Please let me and Sweetie Belle go," she said. We did. Sweetie was confused by a big sister's change in behavior, enough to make her forget about escaping for a moment. "Sweetie Belle?" Rarity hugged her. "I'm very proud to be your big sister. You're the best little sister I could ever hope for. It would be a shame for any pony to lose a little sister like you." She kissed Sweetie Belle on the forehead. "There are so many things I want to say to you. But please know, I am proud of you. I know you'll find a cutie mark sooner than later. Be sure to share your gift with the world. And remember that getting a cutie mark is only the beginning, and that I love you, and I know you love me. Don't spend your life trying to imitate me. Be your own self. And you have a beautiful voice, Sweetie Belle. Please let everyone hear it. Don't let anyone steal that from you." Sweetie Belle looked understandably confused and scared. I had a feeling she was expecting some pony to come and tell her to get to school already, not to have 4 monsters pop up, cast a spell on our sister, and for Rarity to spill her heart out. I didn't have it in me to say this Sweetie Belle might have been a child for hundreds of thousands of years. I had picked the Crusaders early on, and letting her grow up was something a long time coming. "Rarity, what happened? What happened to your friends? What did they do to you? Are you going to turn into a nightmare too?" Rarity cried. She nuzzled Sweetie Belle, whose eyes were brimming. Their tears mixed together. "I'm sorry, Sweetie Belle. It's better you don't know. I love you, and you're a good filly. Now, your big sister is telling you to get running. Things are going to be dangerous soon, and you need to be near friends," Rarity said, trying not to sound angry. She didn't want this moment to be an unhappy one. "If you love me, then please!" With more heaps on her shoulders than any foal should have, Sweetie Belle meekly nodded and ran out the door. "Goodbye, Sweetie Belle," Rarity called after her sadly. Rarity wiped her tears away. She stood up, not even looking at us. She trotted on her back legs towards the mirror on the wall. She sighed, growled, closed her eyes, and slammed her head right into the mirror. Her face cracked, like a piece of a porcelain doll. Part of her face chipped and fell away. She whispered, "Goodbye, Rarity." She held up a hoof to her face. Through the cracked mirror, a green dragon eye looked back. She turned around, still holding her face, and walked past us on 2 legs, like seeing us like this was the most normal thing in the world. Like the calm before a storm. "Rarity?" Pinkie Pie asked. "I don't want to damage the dresses. Please come outside." She walked out the door, still stood upright. We followed outside. She looked around, making sure Sweetie Belle wasn't hiding nearby, then got on all 4s and slammed her face into a rock on the ground at full force. More of her body cracked. She breathed heavily. A pair of purple wings burst out of her back. She stood back on 2 legs and looked at us without a trace of humor or fear on her face, only a nasty seriousness. She roared in fury and frustration, breathed fire, and with her own strength shattered her own body. The pieces fell apart, lifeless, and where the white unicorn had stood was now a small dragon, with dark purple scales and a dark green underbelly. This form held for only a moment before green flames erupted around him, and he grew into an adult dragon that was over 1,000 years old. He landed on all 4s, making the entire town shake. He was big enough to squash a regular pony with 1 claw. His body shape and design reminded me of Tiamat, even though he only had 1 head. He was clad in gold armor with sapphires. Many of the jewels were as big as a mortal mare. I never really asked why the Night Terror of Generosity would bother with all those jewels, but I always figured it was meant as a welcome gift for whichever Rarity agreed to become his nightmare charity. Or a dowry. None of us said it, but we had all guessed. There had never been a Rarity saved from my room. The Rarities kept refusing to become nightmare charity, and Eclipse kept erasing them. Nightmare Eclipse never allowed us to save other versions of ourselves. She didn't want the fakes corrupting us. By the time we visited Rarity, we'd all realized Spike was missing. There was only one other element of generosity we knew personally. Granfaloon flew up to him. "Hey Spikey, how you feeling?" Hopefully he didn't eat her. I didn't want to listen to Pinkie chat about what the inside of a dragon's stomach looks like. I've been in enough dragon stomachs for one lifetime. "Angry, robbed, violated, like I want to destroy something," Spike said in a conversational tone. I spent so long helping Eclipse try to turn Rarity into a monster, just so I could have her for myself. And now there's yet another Sweetie Belle without her sister. "Spike," Applejack said in a disarming, pleading tone. "I know this ain't the best time to ask, but You wouldn't happen to remember anything from after we got friendship blasted? Night Terror Banneret shifted an eye to look at her. All I remember was some pony saying I could help Sweetie Belle and all of you be happy, that it'd be with Rarity forever. I remember agreeing, and then my memories and form being violated. Then I woke up, living Rarity's life in her body, with all my memories telling me I was her, Spike said inscrutably. Guys, things are bad when I'm the one who has to keep us on track, I shouted. All 4 of us are awake and we still need to deal with Fluttershy. There's no way they aren't picking up something is wrong by now. Spike blinked like he was remembering something, then grabbed me and held me up to his face. Hi? Zecora and I were worried sick when you left without a word this morning. Oh, right. We searched the town and the Everfree for you. Finally, Sweetie Belle used her pout on me and I couldn't tell her no to going to the club's anniversary party, and I told her everything was fine so I wouldn't worry her. Sorry, I wasn't thinking about you. Then we raced to Sweet Apple Acres when we saw your fireworks, but there was nothing there when we arrived. Then it started to rain, and against my better judgment, Zecora went home to stock on supplies while I kept looking for you. And I ran into Sweetie Belle and decided to take her home to spend some time together. Seriously, Rainbow, did you just forget about us? I did. I lowered my head. Yeah, the nightmare of loyalty you've forgotten her friends. Damn it. He looked at me a moment longer, then sighed and put me back on the ground. Right, Fluttershy. What about Twilight? Is she okay? I don't think Twilight needs dealing with. I think she dealt with herself. What are you talking about? Pinkie asked. I'll explain later. Not about to risk teleporting, we flew towards Fluttershy's. I wasn't thinking clearly, or maybe I'd have asked the others, or realized we were stirring up the hornet's nest. So, Spike, what was it like being Rarity? Pinkie poked. Like a dream, and I've woken up to a nightmare. Rarity's gone, and I let Eclipse do it. Mira groaned. You didn't let Eclipse do anything to your Rarity. Rarity made her choice. She was hoping she could snap you back to reality. Yeah, I know that now. Doesn't change the fact that I kept trying to make every Rarity become Nightmare Charity, ignored that I was stealing her from another Spike, and humbly assisted Twilight in destroying the world and her with it, over and over, Night Terror said, pained. None of them were static recordings like Eclipse said. Every Rarity was real and unique. Yep, Mira answered. Apple Pie was real, Rarity was real, the Spikes were real, the Twilights were real. Them being fake was just the lie Eclipse used to live with herself. At least that last Rarity still has her Spike. Before Mira could reply, I saw Twilight sparkle on top of the library, waving at us, her book still under one hoof. She wasn't scared, confused, or intimidated by us at all. We landed without a word around her. Spike landed on the ground and craned his neck down. Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Spike, and you too, Applejack. It's good to see you. She smiled wistfully. I only wish there was a way I could have helped you myself. Thank you, Rainbow Dash, and she bowed her head. I'm sorry for baiting you so much. I had to play the part of some pony you wanted to prove wrong, so it would override your desire to stay in your fantasy, and to wake you up to the clues hiding in plain sight. I'm sorry for acting the way I did. I didn't like it. She bowed lower. Stop apologizing so much. Makes you sound like you don't believe what you're saying. I rolled my eyes. Sorry. It just seems like I'm made to play the role of the bad guy whenever some pony needs a challenge to rise to. Nothing like a little competition to bring out a pony's full potential, eh, Rainbow Dash? And nothing like a game where no pony can lose to keep ponies from improving themselves. I thought of all the effortless victories I've had in this place. No real challenge, just empty ego stroking. Rainbow Dash, what is going on? Spike asked. I think we missed half the story, Pinkie added. I think we all agreed we didn't have time for story time, Applejack reminded us. Oh yeah, we gotta wake up Fluttershy next, Pinkie Pie said. That may not be your best move, Twilight said. I know, I agreed. Why? Oh! They'll have realized what's up and set a trap with Fluttershy's bait! Those big meanies! Pinkie Pie declared. I'm afraid there's something else I need to apologize for. I don't care if it was necessary or not. Twilight stood up on her rear hose, putting her foreheads in a V shape across her belly, and bowed her head. I'm not lying when I say I'm her friend, though I know Applejack the least. But I'm afraid Twilight Sparkle was never here, and she isn't standing before you now. I thought I'd be the only one not to gasp when she said that. Applejack didn't flinch either, though. Right, eyes of truth. Applejack must have known the moment she saw her. Why didn't she say anything? Guess she'd been waiting for her to say it. Pinkie Pie and Spike definitely gasped, though. I swear I heard their hearts crack a little. And Applejack's already had. I'm a relative and a dear friend of hers, and I'm here because it's what she'd want. I was sent here to rescue the innocent ponies trapped in this false Ponyville. I came here because you're my friends too. She didn't look ready to defend herself at all. Then where is Twilight? Spike demanded. Pinkie Pie painted a blue tear on her face. I don't know where she is right now, or I'd tell you. Please know she'd be here to help if she could, but it took us so long to find you, and even longer to get inside. She still loves all of you, and she's very sorry for everything she did to you as Nightmare Eclipse. If there was any way to make it up to you, I know she would.
I forgive her, Spike said.
I forgive her too, Pinkie Pie agreed, placing a hoof over her heart. Applejack said nothing. But what about the Twilight who was here before you? There was no Twilight here before, I said. Just a wooden puppet. There was never a real Twilight here. The others shuddered in pain that wasn't physical. I'm the one supposed to give blunt truths, remember, Sugar? So sue me. So, Rainbow Dash, have you figured out the whole truth yet? Yes, yes, yes? One question. Weren't you worried the pin was going to be swiped and I'd get my memories rewritten again? I actually put a perception filter spell on the pin so no pony but you would notice. Got the idea from Time Turner. Pinkie and Spike's eyes caught in the pin like they were noticing it for the first time. Alright then. Well, for starters, there's no way in Tartarus you're behind this. You've done nothing but keep me on the right track this entire time. No jailer is that crazy. You don't watch some ponies squirm by helping them every step of the way. And I know who's behind this. Not heaven, hell, nothingness, limbo, or purgatory, but something I built myself. The moment I recovered my memories, I knew there could be only one answer. It's Rainbow Dash! Our favorite yellow Pegasus shouted as she fluttered onto the top of a house tree. Applejack, Pinkie Pie, oh, and Spike! It's been forever since I've seen you. How have you been? I hope you've been getting enough rest. Pinkie Pie waved her hooves. Fluttershy, don't be scared. We're Celeste! And we're not evil or brainwashed or anything. Cross my heart, I hope the flies stick a cupcake in my eye. Don't worry, Pinkie Pie. I know it's you. Even if your bodies are twisted by dark magic, I know it's still you inside. She smiled, not cowering in fear of us, only showing love. Okay, Pinkie Pie grinned back. Spike, could you do the honors? I'm really sorry about this, Fluttershy, but Daffy said we'll need all the help we can get to save Aeropony from these big minis who have Aeropony under mind control. I mean, how close can you get, right? I'm not scared. Let's touch minds. If it means protecting my friends from hurt, being a nightmare can't be that bad. Applejack looked at me. Twilight just watched silently. I sighed. It was time to put an end to this performance. Part of me wanted it to go on a little longer, but the rest of me was just tired of this. Don't bother, guys. Please. I sighed again. I know who did this to us. I just wasn't sure how to say it. I didn't want to believe it. After everything, I didn't want it to be true. I really didn't. Guys, I'm sorry. Since this was my place, I should have known. All eyes turned towards me. Dashi, what are you saying? Pinkie Pie's lips trembled. I didn't want to hurt you more than you'd already been, Pinkie. That turned out to be wrong. But I wasn't. I looked down at myself in one of the library's windows. I knew even before I got my memories back that it had to be one of us. Fluttershy, Pinkie, and Spike gasped. Applejack's ears folded back, and Twilight tilted her head encouragingly. Only a nightmare would have done this, erase their memories and trap them in a cage for their own good bullshit. I wanted to tell myself it had to be a different nightmare, some other delusional friend, but who else could it possibly be? Twilight put a hoof over her heart. I listed off. This place is all one big lie. Nightmare Mirror would have never even thought of it. Everything is too focused on me to be Spike. If it were him, every pony would have everything they ever wanted, especially Rarity and Sweetie Belle. This place is missing way too many details to ever be run by a Twilight Sparkle. The adventures we've been having are too shallow to be made by Pinkie Pie. There's no spontaneity here, just boring old routines. It would have Minty too, Pinkie Pie said. And Pinkie Pie wouldn't have fought so hard to stop me from attacking Bright Knight, since everything here has been about me doing whatever I want, and my always being right. You attacked Bright Knight? Spike asked, stunned. I thought she was a pod pony. Was she? No. Oh, is she? She's fine, Spike. Good. This is my pocket domain. There's no pony else who has the keys. It had to have been me, right? Except there's no pony who hates me more than myself. I never would have made a fantasy world where I was always the hero. I built this place to be a world where every pony could get along great without me. I was the most insignificant pony here, and I liked it that way. You shouldn't do that to yourself, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy said. But you, Fluttershy, you had the keys to my room. The drinking Geas and Applejack had your magic signature. Sakura spoke in your voice when we were fighting her. There's only one pony who could ever be so terribly, suffocatingly kind. It clicks in every pony's mind, and they all look at Fluttershy. It takes a trot back. You're still kidnapping Philomena, Fluttershy. Please, just stop, Mira whispered. Discord must be doing this to us. Something disorderly ain't his style. Sorry, Sugar. This is just our version of paradise. We must have all died. We sure as hell wouldn't be in heaven, I said. Fluttercruel. This isn't her idea of love or revenge, the Night Terror said. The doctor! He wouldn't have done this half like a job. I'd captured his hardest with my chains plenty of times. I would know. We all closed in around her. Please, we're all happy here. Let me recite your memories and everything could be okay again, she begged us. No, we all threw back. Fluttershy's pupils narrowed to slits, and the almighty stare was upon us. Discord is the only entity I've ever seen who could resist it. I'm sorry, but I can't let you hurt yourselves. We were all bad fillies. We should be doing what Mama Fluttershy wants. Bad fillies. Bad. Listen to your mother. The cruelest of truths resisted the kindness of lies just enough to fling a reflective wing in front of herself. Fluttershy gasps in surprise, not in shock or pain. Then she turns the fog before our eyes and dissolves. Fluttershy? Pinkie Pie whispered, horrified. It was one of her constructs. She was just controlling it more directly than most, Mirror growled. Since it wasn't her real body, couldn't handle the stare being thrown at it. So that wouldn't work on the real Fluttershy? Slow her down, cut her off, but it wouldn't stop her, I said. I should have known it wouldn't be that easy, Twilight sighed. Don't you have turn pony spines to goo vision too? Spike asked. If we were on equal footing, we'd be perfectly evenly matched, truth versus kindness. But when one of us carries enough guilt to drag a heart to Tartarus, the other just wants their friends to be happy, well, the stare is bound to win out. Terrific! The Night Terror roared in frustration. Fluttershy, listen down to Pinkie Pie! The mere Twilight is gone, the elements would have made her good again! Let's just stop all this, then we can start helping ponies! Pinkie Pie yelled into a giant megaphone, making several real ponies in the streets below cover their poor ears. I'll make cake! She's gone to this much trouble, Sugar Cube, and a few words like that isn't gonna change her mind. When a pony's beliefs are challenged, they become even more zealous, not less, and that goes double for nightmares. But wouldn't the elements have fixed Fluttershy in the head like they did us? Asked Granfloon, in innocent puzzlement. Mirror breathed out a long, soft sigh, and I found myself sympathizing with the truth fanatic. Yeah, she looked right at me. But like Princess Luna, I'd say we all got our burdens to bear, even after the elements put our heads back on straight. I looked out towards the sky, where I knew Fluttershy was watching somewhere. Something tells me the battle had only just begun.